Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, for Jay Goltz, William Vanderbloemen, and Laura Zander, concerns about the pandemic loomed large as one of them had to self-isolate in his basement after being exposed to the virus. That fact helped surface a number of challenging questions in our conversation, including, are the three owners being careful enough? What should they tell employees who choose to travel over the holidays? Should employees who travel get paid if local rules require them to quarantine after they return? And if traveling employees do have to quarantine, will these businesses have enough staffers available in December and January to function? And then there was the question Laura demanded of Jay after Jay explained how exactly he was exposed to the virus. Wait, no, she said, you didn't answer my question. Were you wearing a mask? Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations, plus the 21 Hats Morning Report, which you can subscribe to at 21hats.com, will, if nothing else, let owners know they are not alone in facing these challenges. This week's lineup features Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. William Vanderbloemen, who is CEO of Vanderbloemen Search Group, a recruiting firm based in Houston that works with churches and other faith-based organizations. And Laura Zander, who is CEO of Jimmy Bean's Wool, a digital version of a neighborhood yarn shop that is based in Reno, Nevada, and also has a wholesale supplier, Madeline Tosh, in Fort Worth, Texas. This episode is titled, This Week, the Pandemic Hit Home. Laura, last time you were here, you were feeling a little discouraged because you'd found a great new building for your Fort Worth yarn maker. You'd got an SBA approval for a loan, but you'd been through a bunch of banks and hadn't been able to actually get that loan. Bring us up to date. How are things going?
Much better. I'm much more at ease and a lot less discouraged, even though I know I should never be discouraged because entrepreneurs, according to Jay, don't get discouraged.
That's
and that
not
was
true.
Wrong
not
of
going
me
for a
to
bank.
say that.
There's sometimes it's worth getting discouraged. If you launch a new product and it's not working, there's times ago it's not working, but not when it comes to dealing with banks, when you should be able to get a loan.
Anyway, I'm learning which emotions I should have and not have,
Go.
thanks to this podcast. Anyway, so what happened? So we signed a lease about 2 days ago on a different place, and just to catch you up. So I still had irons in the fire with a couple of different banks, and maybe they would have gone through, maybe they wouldn't have. I wasn't discouraged. I was, thinking hopefully that it would work out. But the phase 2 environmental report came back and there was some serious contamination. And the environmental company said they couldn't tell us. It could cost $50,000 to fix it. It could cost $500,000 to fix it. So we went back to the sellers. They didn't have the money to fix it. So we tried to negotiate a deal with them where we would pay to fix it, but then that, whatever we paid would come off of the purchase price once we were able to buy it. So we would move in, we would lease it, part of our lease money would go towards the purchase price, blah, blah, blah. And we just couldn't come up with a deal that made sense to us from a risk standpoint. It still put us in a pretty bad spot if the contamination ended up being pretty bad, and we looked at adjacent places to see if they had contamination, and there was a big company across the highway and blah, blah, blah.
Wait, just fill in the blanks here. The problem really is, how long did these people own the property for?
40 years.
That's the problem. 40 years ago, they weren't paying attention to this stuff. Had they bought it 5 years ago, they would have already had to have gotten through this mess. So this is, when you buy a property that hasn't changed hands in years and there hasn't been a bank involved, this can happen. And I bought a building. There was a gas tank underground, but that's a pretty limited. They took the tank out, all done. But in this case, I think you're right. This thing could have gone on. Who knows how extensive this is?
Yeah. So it was heartbreaking, and I felt really bad for them. Like you said, they bought it 40 years ago, and the awareness wasn't there.
Maybe the contamination wasn't there 40 years ago either.
That's absolutely. Yeah, 100%. So anyway, at the same time that we were trying to, renegotiate with the sellers, I started to go look for other places. And we found a spot that we really liked. And we took took the whole crew, took all the employees over there to see if they liked it. And it actually turned out that a couple of them had worked in this building before, for the previous tenant. But long story short, found this building. It's a little bit bigger. It's in a better location. Actually, it's in a safer location. It's more central. It's right down the street from TCU. So we've got some potential labor pool possibilities there. It's also close enough to a lot of our employees' homes that they could even ride their bikes. It's right across from a school. It's got good signage for, the factory outlet that we open or the factory store that we open. The building itself is much bigger. It's 75,000 square feet, but we would lease 30,000 square feet. The owner was unbelievably generous, like super nice guy, and gave us a really good deal.
Because he's really a nice guy. That's why he did it. Not because the market sucks and he's having a hard time renting it. He did it because he's a nice guy.
Absolutely. That's what I think, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, so we got a good deal, and we got the added benefit of he seems like a really nice guy. And really bent over backwards. He owns a bunch of different properties, so many different properties that he has his own construction crew. So they're able to come in and do a lot of the upgrades or the TIs that we need or that we wanted. So that's a huge stress off of our back. So they're going to go in and they're literally they drew up plans to create a kitchen for us. That's an air conditioned kitchen, which is something that this team has never had before. Like I've mentioned before, when it's 100 degrees out in the kitchen, when they're dyeing yarn, it could be 120, 130 degrees. Oh. And so, we've had a lot of turnover from dyers as a result of that. So now all of a sudden we're going to be in a better location. We're going to have 50% more square footage for less per month, and it's custom built. So we're going to have plumbing, to each of the sinks and each of the stations. It's going to be very.
Wait, you didn't used to have plumbing?
No.
They had an outhouse.
Well, we have plumbing, but not custom, not super efficiently created plumbing. So now the way that this will be built, it's very custom built for what we do.
How long was this place for rent?
Maybe, that's a great question. 6 months, 9 months?
Yeah.
I know they just rented the other two spaces, and, we told him that we really wanted to buy it. So, we have something in the lease that, right of first refusal, and, he's aware. So that's something that if that ends up being in the cards for us, then potentially we could buy the building.
I know you were excited about the possibility of buying previously. Are you disappointed that you're not buying right now?
Contrary to what Jay thinks, I do believe that, everything happens for a reason. And
I was going to say, you don't know what I think, but you're right. I hate that, really. It's just like,
I know you do.
The world things just fall in your lap, and it's not about any decisions you make or any decision or any, things just happen. Great.
I don't think that's true. I just think that if I work as hard as I can possibly work and I push as hard as I can possibly push, that, when one door closes, another door opens. So, sure.
So you've been working really hard.
Wait, I want to hear from William on this. This is his area.
The way a lot of my clients say this, Laura, is you work all day as if everything depends on you, and you go to bed knowing it's all in his hands.
Okay. So the answer has nothing to do with the fact that while your other deal was going sideways, instead of sitting around hoping, you went out because you're smart and you kept looking for other options. It couldn't be because of that you were out there making things happen. It couldn't be that. It was just that.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, we made this happen. We made it happen. But Lauren asked if I was disappointed that we didn't buy something. And am I disappointed? Yes. But am I attached to the fact that we wanted to buy something? No, I have to let that go because I did everything that I could to make that happen, and it didn't happen.
But it's not just that. You found a situation that might, in fact, be better. That this guy's putting money in. Right. So this was just a good business decision. This guy's going to put a lot of money in the place, custom to what you need. And in fact, this might be a better alternative than buying a building. So it's not about things happen for a right. You went out and you found this guy, good for you, and it worked for all parties. Now, my question is, he did the right of first refusal. That's not the same as being able to buy the building, because if he never puts it up for sale, you can't. Is there a thing in there that says at a certain date you have an opportunity to buy the building at a set price?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's different.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
It is, but we may not be able to buy it by that date. We just may not, loan wise and everything else. So if we can't buy it by that date, then at least we still have, we're still in the mix just a little bit.
Right. It sounds like you found a good situation for yourself. So to my point, this has nothing to do with what was meant to be, but you worked hard. You went out, and while that other people would have sat around waiting for that other deal to happen, you covered your bases and you went and checked some other options and you found a better option.
We did. And we negotiated. We didn't even really have to negotiate, but we asked for, the per square foot rate to stay steady for the next 5 years, and then for it to only increase by 10%. And stay steady for the next, so we have 2 5-year options after the first 5 years, and he went along with it all.
Wow.
Not because he's nice. He is nice, but, and then I said a condition of the lease was that he go to lunch with me twice a year, because he's a really accomplished businessman in the area. And he just seems like a nice guy. So I would like to go to lunch with him.
Well, Laura, we're on the flip side of this. As we've discussed in previous episodes, we have more space than we need because we have decided before the pandemic to decentralize our offices and to have regional offices open across the country. So our central office doesn't need all the space we have. So we'd sublet about half of it out, and the other half, we'd said over time, the subletter is just going to take it over because their company's going to grow. Well, the pandemic hits, and that's all kind of uncertain now. And I've had unsolicited offers from, quote, really nice people who want to take the lease off my hands, who aren't even, their offers aren't even covering the utility bill. And it's like, guys, it's not that bad yet. So it's definitely a pandemic-driven bargaining that's going on right now.
The vultures are out flying around looking for opportunities.
Oh my gosh, yes. And
just
some
business.
of them are really nice people. They really are nice people, but they're making an offers like, guys, no.
William, how are you doing otherwise? How's business?
Well, it's all knock on wood, right? France and Germany just shut back down a couple of days before we started this recording. So it feels like we're watching Groundhog Day, right? All I can talk about is what I know at this moment. And at this moment, August of this year outperformed last August. September didn't quite, but it was close. And October looks to be rounding out about the same as last year. So for 3 months, we've had some degree of return to the numbers from last year. Now, every year we've been in existence, we've grown. So even that is a different scenario than I would have planned out. But boy, it's a whole lot better than March, April, May. And so if we can hold serve for the rest of this calendar year, I'll be very pleased. And but who knows, right?
So are most of your customers or clients, I guess, are they holding in-person services?
I would say most of them are somewhere in the 70 percentile.
Wow.
So, now.
And are they taking any responsibility at all for it not going away by having all these in-person, or are they all wearing masks?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know that we have a single client that doesn't have extreme precautionary measures in place. And it may be that we're not representative of churches in general. Churches who tend to hire us, and this is going to sound arrogant, but they tend to do things fairly professionally. I mean, they're hiring an exec search firm and we're a new idea. So
got it.
There's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
I think they just tend to do things right. And, our largest gatherings that are happening are in places like Southern California, where it's 72 and sunny, and you can do it all outside, or you can have drive up, or you can do, drive up and tune into so they're finding ways to do it. Nobody's having huge crowds. I think the highest numbers I'm hearing is like 50% of this time last year's attendance. And the more normal thing is 30 to 40%. But the other reality, Laura, is most churches, Protestant churches in the U.S., have been stagnant or in decline for 30 years. So, like a Mother's Church is a great church. They usually have 200. They're not meeting yet. They're in a hot spot. But their sanctuary could hold 400 easy. So whenever they go back, they could have a normal Sunday and not only be at 50% capacity. So
got it.
It's a little silver lining to the long, slow decline in a whole lot of churches that's been going on. The spaces are big enough, and it's
that they're socially distancing just naturally.
Yeah. And as you would guess, the big question mark is what do we do with kids? So, and that's the puzzle everybody's trying to figure out. They're going back, and finances are good. Our client base has shifted quite a bit. Where very large churches hire us to do a whole lot of staffing for them, and then the other half of our work is normal-sized churches looking for a pastor. Now, normal-sized churches looking for a pastor is far and away the most prevalent thing we're doing, and the larger churches are just kind of having to press pause till they're meeting again. So I think we pivoted, although I'm exceedingly tired of that word, toward that new reality fairly quickly. And then hopefully when we're on the other side of this, whether that's this time next year or whenever, the people that have hit pause will come back. They're not closing, and we'll have increased our ability to reach different kinds of organizations.
Yeah, the question becomes, how many times can you pivot before you end up right back in the same place you started in?
That's funny.
Yeah.
Jay, you're so wise.
So Jay, how about you? You usually call into this podcast from your office. You're in a different location today. Where are you?
I'm in my underground bunker. I'm at home in my basement because someone that I work with tested positive, and I'm just being ultra. We're following all the guidelines, so I'm at home, and the fact is I don't do that much of there anyway. I can do it at home, and I just can't emphasize enough that you can't be too careful with this stuff.
What was the situation? Tell us what happened.
Wait, you tested positive?
I had an employee brought her son to work who's 20, and I'm kind of torturing myself that I should have told her don't bring him into work. He wanted to talk to me about something, and we were in a room together, and we were across the room. I definitely spaced away, and and she tells me 2 days later he tested positive, and I can't emphasize enough. This is like, well, I wear my seatbelt usually, I only went out drinking one time. Like all of our lives, especially if you own a business or even if you don't own a business, all it takes is that one extra drink at a restaurant that you shouldn't have drove, or that one time you didn't wear a seatbelt, or maybe you put an extension cord on your heater at work and you shouldn't have, and you forgot to turn off and it burns your building down. It's just extremely frustrating that.
Were you not wearing a mask?
I was across the room from him.
No, you didn't answer my question. Were you wearing a mask?
No.
Jay, you do this to me.
I'm guilty as charged. I don't know what to tell you. I'm guilty as charged. I wear the mask. No, I'm guilty as charged. I wear the mask all the time, except this time he was totally across the room, like 20 feet away.
Did you get tested?
I'm getting tested. I feel fine, but the reality is I've done some research. 40% of the people that have it are asymptomatic. And I have to tell you, when you're sitting at home, God help you if you're watching 24-hour cable news all day long. I don't know how you don't just.
I would recommend against that, Jay.
Well, I was watching South Park episodes from 15 years ago.
That sounds better. How about other employees? Did anybody else have contact with your employee's son?
Not really, because he came in with her, and I said this to my managers. I said, we're going to have to suspend the Jay Goltz rule of 42 years, that the customer do whatever you need to. They're always right. Because at this point, customer wants to come without a mask. We're not letting it happen. And if the customer is mad at us because we couldn't deliver something, I have to expect there might be some service failures here, because someone's taking off regularly these days because they found out their cousin who came over had it. So at any given moment, there's usually somebody who's sitting at home because we're being careful. Yeah. And I've had to just accept the fact that.
Are you paying them when they sit at home?
Yeah. First of all, there's the government thing where they reimburse, but in one case, he already took that.
Oh, really?
Yes. There's a.
Oh, I need to do that.
Yes.
Is that a federal thing or a state thing?
I think it's federal. You can take that out of the payroll tax or something. No.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, because we're always down 2-3 people because somebody's husband, somebody's kid.
And it tries your soul.
Jay, didn't you have an employee who went to a motorcycle?
Yeah, well, here's the story.
No.
He's going on a motorcycle thing, my oldest guy, and I go, do you really need to? Oh, we're going to be wearing masks and blah, blah. I said, okay, but you're going to quarantine. So he goes on it. He quarantined. He comes back. He tells me this week that his 32-year-old friend that went on it with it died, left 2 kids and got it and died from it. So
wow.
Talk about oops. And I understand that lots of people get it, and they but for anybody to suggest that it's certainly not most people die from it. It is a small percentage, but any percentage is too much. It happens. So he's sick with stomach now, and it's just difficult, and we're following all so here's the new thing in Chicago. Oh, anyone that goes to Wisconsin, Indiana, all these states, you got to quarantine. Well, this isn't perfect, because if somebody went to visit their father who's living by himself in an apartment and only went to see him in Wisconsin, they're supposed to quarantine, but then somebody who went to their friend's house with 8 college friends, they don't have to. So this is clearly not a perfect thing or even close to perfect. It's clearly a shotgun approach at trying to stop this stuff. But all I've decided, and believe me, I've had long conversations with my key managers, we're clinging on to, we're going to follow the city of Chicago rules. As imperfect as they are, we're going to follow the rules, and that's all we can do. And yes, somebody could argue, well, I just went up to Wisconsin, but I got it. But the second you start making adjustments for it.
Jay, are you concerned about that with the holidays coming up?
Absolutely.
Are you going to keep track of employees who go home or wherever?
Yeah, this was the whole conversation with my managers. So they are going to want to go home for the holidays. I can't tell people you can't go home for the holidays. And we're just going to have to say, okay, now they're going to have to take 2 weeks off during my busiest month of the year, which is why I say I've accepted that fact. If someone goes home for the holidays and they self-report, which is what we asked them to do, I'm going to have one screwed up December with not having enough employees there. And this is where, if there's ever a moment in time, maybe this is the first moment in time in 42 years of being in business that it truly highlights the difference between being the owner and the employee. Is the owner, you'd like to go, really? Could you not look out for the business some? And it's our busiest month and we really need the business. And can you not? You know what? I don't feel comfortable doing that. And at the end of the day, those that want to go home and they're going to get quarantined for 2 weeks, what am I going to do? They're not slaves.
And you're going to pay them for the quarantine time?
Well, they've got that rule. They're going to get it. Yeah, this is the reality. And I'm not going to be cynical and go, oh, well, gee, what do they have to lose?
Don't
go home for the holiday. Right, I got it. But they can go home for the holiday and then they get 2 weeks off that they get paid. Not a big deal. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to do it for that reason, because I really do have good, honorable employees, trustworthy, whatever you want to call it. But do I think that they're going to put the business first over going to see their family?
Do they have work that they could do from home?
No. The ones that are working from home, I haven't seen my controller for 4 months, literally. I mean, the people that can work from home are already working from home, but I'm a retailer. Someone comes into my business and they actually expect someone to walk up and say, with a mask, and everyone's wearing masks, can I help you? It's the first time in all these years I'm just kind of helpless. I'm going to do everything I can, but I'm going to have some service failures in December. And then to add insult to injury, now someone can go on Yelp and go, oh, that place, no one came and greeted me at the door. And it's like,
William, you're not a retailer, obviously. Maybe the stakes aren't as high, but are you at all concerned about employees traveling over the holidays?
We haven't given it a whole lot of thought. And we probably should. January, in a normal year, January is where we get slammed because church staffs are under this crazy impression that when the new budget year arrives, they have, quote, new money. whatever that means. And it's fine because they start hiring people. So January is usually a very busy month for us. And if we had to send everybody home, it wouldn't cripple us, but it wouldn't be great. I think the agility our team showed during March, April, May has reassured me that if we had to go virtual for a period of time, it wouldn't cripple our business.
Laura, are you concerned?
I'm with William in that I actually haven't given it a ton of thought because I've had so much other stuff going on. But now that you mention it, wow, thanks a lot.
That's what Lauren does. He finds the stuff that we weren't thinking about and make sure that
Can I think about it? Can I worry about it next week? Because
I'm giving you permission to take a vacation from worrying about that till next Thursday. Let's say next Thursday.
Permission granted, Laura. But you said you mentioned that you've had 2 or 3 people out at a time already. So this has already been on your radar.
In Texas.
Oh, just in Texas.
Just in Texas, yeah. So in Nevada, actually in Reno, we're going to open our retail store for the first time now, I think on Saturday.
Wow.
Next week. So we've had our retail store closed the whole time. We haven't had anybody out. In terms of people going home, everybody is from here, so there's nowhere to go. So that's not a big deal.
Every single person that works for you is from there.
Pretty much, probably 95%.
Well, wait. That doesn't change anything. Think about it. It's not about traveling. It's just they're going to the relative's house with 12 other people. It's not about being from Reno. It's a matter of they're going to Thanksgiving dinner with 12 people, 15 people.
With our Reno, so we have 2 very different cultural groups. So in Reno, the staff there is 98% of the staff is so freaked out by this that they don't even pick up food. Like they don't go out to eat. They don't. Yeah. So they're mostly millennials and they're very, very hyper conscious. So there's no partying. There's no group things. Most of them are friends. Most of them came to work as friends already. So they've kind of created this little pod.
And in Texas?
In Texas, it's very different. Granted, now a lot of the employees are related. So they do all intermingle all the time, both personally and professionally. As far as going home, I think probably a number of them are going to go back to Mexico, where they have extended family. So that's something we're going to have to address. To be honest, I hadn't even thought about, I've been so focused on us moving into a new building and us being so far behind. Our sales in Texas have just gone through the roof. The demand has gone through the roof. I mean, we're booked up through the end of January already. And so we're over capacity. And we've, like I said, had 2 or 3 people.
That's great. Why is that? What changed?
Well, knitting is popular.
Well, not just that. People are home with nothing to do.
But that's been true for a long time. It sounds like this is more recent. Did you do more marketing or?
I'm hoping we're just doing a better job. It's been actually today is our 1-year anniversary. So we bought this business exactly 1 year ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
How about this theory? How many times do you come to work in your office and find someone knitting at their desk? I'd say never, right? Now they're working from home. And some people, I know this is a crazy thought, but there are actually some people that are working from home that are taking some knitting breaks and they're knitting some stuff.
Yeah, and some people are watching South Park, Jay.
And some people are watching South Park, yes.
Yeah, and you knit during meetings. I mean, we happen to knit during meetings in person because that's our business. But now people are probably doing it when they're on Zoom. The increase. We also, we have a full-time sales rep now, and he's probably brought in 50% of our business. I mean, it's been unbelievable. And now we have a couple other new employees, one that lives in Denver, another blah, blah, blah. So our team is just really coming together.
Has that guy actually come into your office?
Yeah, we actually all we all went to Texas last week. So
this guy's been all around the country.
Yep.
And then he brings with whatever, and you actually sat in a room with him with masks on, and he was in the room. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we had one girl come in from New York City. We had somebody come in from Denver. Yeah. And then we do like you say, we always are, nobody's hugging, nobody's high-fiving, nobody's sitting next to each other. Everybody's got masks on. We've got the hand sanitizer all over the place. We're just trying to do our best.
We did hit an all-time high for cases yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's without, there's plenty of testing that's not going on. So as much as it's hit a high mark, like I said, there's tons of people out there that are walking around with it, don't even know it. So
yeah, I would say our experience, though, from the testing standpoint, I mean, our employees are getting tested all the time. Like all the time. And it's gotten down to like a 2-hour turnaround.
Are you paying for that? Is that something that you initiated?
We are not explicitly paying for it, but we've always offered to people, that we will pay for it if they can't. But if somebody in their family gets it, then they have to get tested before they can come back to work, even after. So we had one woman who got tested, had it, got tested 7 days later, had it, still got tested another 7 days, still had it, another 3 days later got tested and had it. But in Fort Worth, it's really nice because they give you your results within 2 or 3 hours.
See, and I've been told those tests aren't that accurate, the 2-hour ones.
Oh, well.
That seems to be a well-accepted fact that those tests are not as accurate, so.
But anytime anybody sneezes, they're going out and they're getting tested. So they've been, I've actually been impressed at, how much people are going out and getting tested.
All we can do is do the best we can. And it's taken the word frustration to a whole new level.
Jay, I don't mean to depress you too much, but I called you over the weekend and you were already in your basement at that point. And I interrupted you. You were working on your list of things people should do. Should you not be available to run the business?
Yeah, I don't mind talking about that. I have to tell you, I have a sheet that I recognize that if I drop dead, it would be a very, very messy situation. I got a lot of things in the air and I already had it typed out, but I went and updated it as to what some thoughts are as to how to do things, what to do with money, what to do with the business, what to do with real estate. And I'm so
proud of you, Jay. We talked about this in a previous episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Everyone needs an emergency succession plan.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just for 14 days of me being in bed.
It's not just succession. It's a lot of other stuff like telling them, I'll be specific, do not use the phrase, Dad wouldn't have wanted us to do that. I don't want anybody to be walking around with this guilt thing of, oh my God, Dad's turning in his grave. I don't want anybody to have that responsibility because here's my perspective. My wife and kids have paid a price for having a father who is an entrepreneur. They've had the benefits of it, but they've also paid a price. And I've paid a price. There's times like now that being a business owner is very difficult and we have responsibilities that most people do not have. And I do not want to carry it on to the next generation. I don't want my kids to have this thing hung around their neck. Well, they never really wanted the business, but Dad died and I had to take it over and they end up not doing what they want to do. So
Laura, have you thought about what would happen at your business if you were incapacitated for a time?
No, because I don't think I contribute that much. I'm like, I don't know. It'll be fine.
You don't contribute that much.
I don't. What do I do?
That's why you're in Texas every 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, I'm just eating barbecue and watching TV.
Yeah.
No, but that's a great point. That's a really, really great point.
And I would add, since everybody's sitting around reading, one of the very best books I've read about succession is called Dirty Little Secrets of Family Business. It is invaluable if you own your business. If you own your business and if you have family, those two things, then you need to get a copy of that. I get no kickback for saying that. It's just a phenomenal little book that'll get you asking the right questions.
I mean, that's the question. Is that the legacy of family businesses that that when the owner finally dies, this guy that started it or the woman that started it, is that what the legacy has to be, that things have to get messed up? Because I got to tell you, it frequently does. And I think
very few go past. Second gen works okay. We studied 30%. Quite a bit. Yeah, 30%, they say. Third gen's a mess. Third gen is usually the train wreck. And then if you can make it past that, you're in very rare air. I mean, I think Smucker's is on their 5th gen. I think Nordstrom is on their 5th gen, and I don't know any large companies that still have families running the business, maybe not owning the whole thing, that are to 5th gen. It's
just getting to the 2nd generation, only 30% do. I mean, that's right. The next generation's another 30%, which means that only 9% get to a 3rd generation. And I'm saying, okay, then the business doesn't get past you. Maybe that's okay. Maybe that's okay. Like,
yeah, maybe so.
Don't mess your family up for some quote unquote legacy that you got in your head. And I already had it written out, but I updated it. And in my case, there's no perfect thing here. I'm working on it. I'm always working on it, but it's not easy.
We're running short on time. I want to acknowledge something, which is that this episode is going to be published on Election Day. We avoid talking about politics on this show, and I want to keep it that way. But I'm curious, have any of you been planning anything different? Have you been holding off on anything to await and see what the outcome is? Or is it just another day for your business?
For us, it's just going to be another day. I mean, we may privately as a group celebrate one way or the other or mourn, but that's it.
I'm just putting that in the category of whatever. I just, nothing I can do to control it.
And that's where we're at.
And no plans that you feel you need to make or decisions you need to make? No. I mean, it'll be nice if the tariffs go away, but that's, but whatever. I can't control it.
For us, the election, I've got red churches, blue churches, purple churches, rainbow churches, every kind of church. So like the who gets elected to me is not nearly as important to our business as that somebody get elected. The angst that if you've seen the movie The Perfect Storm, it's when 3 different storms came together and it was the end of George Clooney. That's kind of been
Marky Mark.
That's right. That's kind of the recipe that a lot of people that are leading Christian schools and churches are facing right now. They've got a pandemic that we really don't know what we're doing with. We've got and you can criticize response, but unless you were alive 102 years ago, you don't really have anything to base your response on. So whatever. You've got civil unrest that's rooted in a whole lot of racial tension. And then you've got this election that frankly polarizes the 2 dogs in my house. So they have different opinions. So the pressure that all 3 of those at the same time is creating is leading it. Probably 7 out of 10 of the pastors I interact with are about 6 inches away from quitting. And I think getting one of those 3 pressure points off will be an enormous help.
I am 100% with you on everything you just said, including you used a word that is a new word in our vocabulary that my doctor used with me, angst. That's the new word, angst.
Yeah, that's really angst. Great.
And I agree 100% with what you're saying. We just need to get this election done.
Yep.
That'll be one little thing off of us at least, or one big thing.
Yep, some certainty.
For a lot of people, I think the biggest concern is that the election could drag on, or at least determining the winner could drag on for weeks or even more.
There you go, Lauren. As usual, you've outdone yourself. You brought that one last piece in that we should be worried about. Thank you.
My thanks to Jay Goltz, William Vanderbloemen, and Laura Zander. As always, guys, thanks for sharing. Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Remember, we started the 21 Hats podcast to help business owners feel a little less isolated, to let them know they aren't the only ones fighting these battles. If you got something out of this conversation, please help us reach more people. Tell a friend, subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at 21_hats. And let me know if you have a question or a comment or a topic you'd like us to cover. My email address is lfeldman at 21hats.com. See you next time